All right, if y'all stand, we'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let us pray. God, I want to thank you so much for just an awesome year. Lord, I thank you again for how you do what you do in Hutchinson County. Lord, I pray as always that we continue to bless those who serve and work and protect and guard not only our county, our cities, our government, our country. God, I just thank you for all of our first responders who respond to everything. God, I pray right now that you be with each and every one of us, and especially in this meeting, as we make decisions that will impact our county. Let us be wise and let us know exactly what to do, the wisdom to know what to do, and the knowledge to know how to do it. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen.
Yes,
Oh, you got it.
I didn't get it.
Oh,
I told him about it.
oh, okay. All right.
I just heard it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, have y'all had a chance to review the bills? Yes. Motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second, to pay the bills. Any further discussion? All in favor? And Amy, you don't have any payroll today?
Yes, no payroll, but I do have the new employees for November and separated employees for November and December. We have. Do I just tell?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Jarrett Parsons, field deputy, new employee November. Larry Blake Mangus, field deputy in the sheriff's office. And then this month, Baltazar Madrano, part-time lineman at the airport. Joy Matthews, separated 11:30 part-time lineman at the airport, and then separated Leslie Weissel in the adult probation 12:15.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, item 5, any additions or corrections to our previous?
No corrections. That was December 12th meeting.
All right, item 6 is public comments. Anyone have a public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, which is presentation from Will Hendon and Justin Boyd with AMR. Morning. Good.
Should throw it on the floor.
That's good.
I'll pick the dirty one.
Quite making enough for the entire audience.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Here, let me hand one back here to you. Sure, thank you.
We have it digitally and can email that out. If you'd like us to do that.
Okay,
The IT guy said we were a little late to the game and bringing it up here and be able to put it up there.
Okay.
You guys can- First of all, thank you so much for having us this morning. Judge and county commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity, obviously, to engage with you and talk about EMS service for Hutchinson County. This is on the heels of an unfortunate circumstance for Global Medical Response, which is the parent company for AMR, which down the food chain one more time runs Amarillo Medical Services, which is the area that the service that services your communities. And so we sent a letter about a week and a half ago to Mr. Bass with the hospital district, and just basically explaining our position as an organization. And so that's what I'm going to go over with you today, and then give you an opportunity to ask any questions or engage however you see fit. So we've been serving the Hutchinson County area below Stinnett since 2018. May, I guess, probably towards the end of 17, December-ish. Received a phone call from Don Bates, and they wanted to give us the opportunity to engage as their 911 provider. And we took that. And so we've been serving proudly since May of 2018. It took us a little bit of ramp to get all of our stuff ready and to take over the service cleanly, which is not uncommon that you take over an appointed service area and take you a little bit of time to get your equipment and everything settled for the transition. And so after taking over, we've proudly served this area, transporting anywhere between 1,900 and 2,100 patients, usually per year. Obviously we've done that without any subsidy whatsoever. And so when 2020 hit, I don't have to explain to this what happened to the economy, what happened to public works, what happened to public safety, what happened to healthcare when COVID happened. Right? We were taking this, and because of that, we positioned ourselves as basically we have a duty to respond, and we're going to do that. So we figured out how to do things that we've never had to do before. Historically, EMS folks get sick. We take a pill, we take a shot, we get back on the ambulance, we go back to work. Right? I mean, that's just the reality of who we are. No different than police or fire. We don't get sick. If we do, we're going to work through it. Well, COVID changed that, made it where we can't just show up to work sick, right? Because we might give it to our patients. We might give it to the other people. And then somebody may ultimately pass away from that. And maybe somebody that has. That's unfortunate that we didn't know what kind of monster we were dealing with at the time. And so it changed a whole bunch of things for us in EMS, created staffing crisis across healthcare, and gave us some pretty difficult challenges. But we took those on, and obviously we took those at a financial loss. But that was our responsibility, not only corporate, but as public safety providers. Right. And then 2021 came, and honestly, we were raking in money. And not necessarily from an ambulance perspective. The ambulance business was not, as a core opportunity, was not very successful in 2021. Across the board, because volumes were down. When COVID volume went away, it just, the money went with it, right? EMS is a volume driven business. So, but we were getting money from vaccination clinics, COVID swab clinics, different things like that, that federal government deployments. If you don't know, GMR, AMR is the #1 contractor for the Office of Emergency Management for FEMA. And so when they call, we answer, and we get paid substantially for that. And, we enlist a lot of other providers to help with us, but we get every one of those deployments that, happened in New York or Mississippi and Colorado, all of those places that were severely impacted by the COVID pandemic. We were there frontline, right? And so the money came with that. And so it overshadowed a lot of the underlying problems with our core business. And then 2022 came. And kind of towards the tail end, let me back up just a little bit, kind of towards the tail end of 21, we were all in kind of a staffing war, right? Where we're trying to steal employees from Joe Bob's ambulance service, they're trying to steal them from us, and everybody's raising their pay to accommodate and try to get everybody in the door that you can, right? Well, what's your biggest expensive business? It's going to be your salaries, right? And so the more we paid employees, the smaller our margins got. So from the beginning of 2020 through the end of 22, we've operated this business at a loss. And that's the unfortunate circumstance that we're faced with now is just in salaries alone for 2022, the trailing 12 months. Okay, so I'm talking October of 21 through October of now, we spent a little over $1.9 million on salaries. Right. And in a business like this, we don't get paid unless we transport. So when we pick up a patient, if we're billing, we only get a certain percentage of that back. Medicare, Medicaid, really about 51 to 52% of our business, right? So it's a pretty substantial number. And they're only going to pay us what they're going to pay us. An ALS 1 charge, which stands for advanced life support. ALS 1 charge emergency means you called 911, we showed up, we had a paramedic on the box, Whether we start an IV or not, that's irrelevant. Just to kind of speak in layman's terms, we're going to charge you $474 and some change plus mileage, and rural mileage is for the first for the first 10 miles at $17 and some change a mile. And then after that goes down to $10.26. And so you can imagine our average reimbursement is somewhere around $550, right? And so when we get those, you multiply that by 2,000 trips, you're way below $1.9 million, right? So we have a lot of things to overcome. And unfortunately, the model that we were operating under just currently no longer sustainable. And so because of that, you know, we're here making an ask that we haven't asked before. Certainly not something that we want to do. You know, in this business, we want to be wholly sustainable by our business model solely and not have to, we don't get taxpayer dollars, right? Normally. We just off of the transports that we do, we build. And when that's not sustainable enough, then we come to the table, and usually in these circumstances, it was already mapped out that way, right? We would present to the county way before we got into this situation, and we would enter into a contract and we would already have that subsidy coming our direction. But we took over this particular assignment under appointment from the hospital. And so that changes the dynamics of how we entered the market, if that makes sense. So the subsidy ask is on page 7. Because I know part of this is about what's the dollar bill. We serve this entire the upper 26 counties of the Texas Panhandle through the IFP market, which is interfacility transport. We'll go and pick it up wherever. We do have 30 plus ambulances in our fleet that we've supported this particular market with, even though we've served this area typically with 1.5, and so that doesn't necessarily make sense. How do you cut an ambulance in half and still transport patients? But that's not what that means. That means 24 hour deployment plus a 12-hour deployment, so 36 hours a day. So I'm going to pause there because I've covered a lot of information. I'm sure you guys have tons of questions. Feel free to continue to sift through those slides, but I kind of covered them all when I froze on one slide and just continue to talk because I know what I came here to talk about.
So you said you raised salaries. What's the markup on the salaries percentage wise of how we got to this deficit?
Roughly 40%.
Okay. So that was, you paid out, what was paid out the year before? You said 9.1 salaries was paid.
1.9, sorry, 1.9 million. The year before, I don't have that number in front of me, sir. I can look that up. I mean, the reality is with the upward wage pressure in society, we're not going to go back. Right, we would lose our employees to competitors. And there's enough of them out there that, you know, we would have no ambulance service here or BLS only.
I have a lot of questions, but I don't know legally if we can, because it just says presentation.
Well, I think you can ask questions. But we're not making decisions today. We're just,
Most of my questions are for the decision.
need to look at all of our options first.
That's the only question I have.
Yeah, I don't have any questions right now. I will though. I have a list, but I don't have them now.
Yes, sir.
I don't know that we have any other questions, but
The only thing I would close with is that, you know, please understand that EMS contracting is our core competency. This is what we do. And so we're glad to help you in any way, even if that means that you guys go for your own county-based EMS service, and you have questions on how to do that, whether it's paperwork, what kind of ambulances to buy, et cetera. You know, we're glad to be a helping hand and to make sure that the transition goes well. Certainly, we want to be here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. I would have served my 60-day exit letter, and that would have been that, right? This is something we want to do. We care about our employees. We care about the community that we came to serve. And we want to continue to do that. you know, at the basis of every EMS professional is a heart for service, right? And I was a paramedic first, long before I was a businessman driving a spreadsheet and coming and ask you for money. Right? So at the end of the day, we want to continue to be here, and I hope you can consider that.
What,
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the 675, 627 is what y'all are projecting you're gonna need for for continuation, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
the
and
county alone
No,
from Hudson County?
no.
No, that's just our total.
all the
that's our
entities.
total,
Mhm.
No matter how it comes to us.
Okay,
And then what's the deadline? When do you need to know a yes or no?
that was my
Yes,
question.
February
Yesterday,
cutoff day.
February 14th is that right?
yeah, we did a drop dead date of February 14th. I mean, I don't want to be lenient in the aspect that we can continue to operate while everybody figures their stuff out, but
Mhm.
if we're close to, you know, all of us coming to the table and having a decision, then we're not gonna pull out in the middle of that. I mean, that's the reason for the notice, because I think, don't lose sight of the fact that we don't have a contract. Currently, I have no obligation, right?
Right.
The company has no obligation. But that's not who we are. We want to stay, we want to help. So if we're close to a decision, then we will extend that deadline. I'll do the best we can.
Man, I have a lot. I have
So-
so much I need to ask.
So when did this deficit become known?
It's been known for a while.
So why was this not presented, knowing that county and local governments usually have an October budget? Why was this not presented June, May, February? Why were we not working on this for the last year?
Oh,
try to get ahead of
that part's a lot easier to answer than what I'm making it sound like. It's a blended market. And so in those blended markets, we enjoy the coverage area to be able to provide backup service to our air partners, and Lifestar services this area also. And so because of that, we try to hang on to as much territory as we possibly can, even if it is at a loss. Because of the shifting economy, we've had some operational changes, and those came from the board. And so we've had to start making some really tough decisions, and those became tighter after our budget season starts to close in October, and the board got their presentation in October. Why the change in payments occurred.
So we as the county have never paid for EMS. It's just been the municipalities. And so this would be something that we will partner with the municipality.
Well, the municipalities aren't paying either.
Yeah, we are.
Bridge pays a small subsidy,
Rich, but not poor.
And Fridge pays 48.
$42,000.
42,000. Okay.
Do you have any projection on subsequent years? Like, can we expect this to go up 40% more next year? And
So what we would do in this instance, we would march this out in a contract, and whatever is in that contract, we're going to. So if there's generally the escalator is anywhere from 3 to 5%. Absorb CPI, things like that. But beyond that, whatever we march out in a contract, we'll live up to.
Will that be kind of a floating contract? Like if you start making money, then the price would go down, the cost would go down for us.
Certainly we can build that in. Yes, sir. We can adjust a sliding scale.
Judge, I want to be I want to join the municipalities in this discussion personally. If they'll invite me.
You're invited.
Okay.
I think we're definitely going to need to have
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of talk.
joint discussions, of course, before we make any decisions. Like
Thank you.
Chris said, our budget's already set for the year.
Understand.
Finding that kind of money.
Point well taken. Understand.
Anybody else have any questions for them? Did Jesse, I noticed you filled out a participation. Did you want to make a comment or?
Just in case that we needed y'all had questions for the hospital and the hospital district, we wanted to be able to make those comments.
Mhm.
So, and we'll leave the floor open to yourself. It has been conversations, I will say, between the district and entities. And we would love to be able to open up, to a forum, dog discussion and all that.
Yeah.
This was a surprise to HCHD. As you probably well know, and I'm going to make it public today, is we have signed documents that the hospital will be going over to HCHD come January the 1st. We're going to nonprofit. So these discussions and this money was never discussed or brought to our attention where we would have an issue with that. Yes, we did hand the service over to AMR in 18 due to the fact we were losing about $1.1 billion a year. And whenever you only collect $2.4 million a year in taxes with $9 million in uncompensated care, there's no way the hospital can keep the doors open with that type of a deficit. So we had to fight that, and AMR has done their job. However, all of a sudden, come December the 14th, we receive a letter with 60 days. I'm sorry, I believe the agreement that I've seen says they give us another 20 days. They may say we're not in a contract. I'm not going to argue that at this point, yet I believe we need to be able to sit down and discuss this as a countywide option because this is huge.
Mhm.
35% of the business that AMR brings in is admissions into the hospital, but still that's not a ton of money to make up the difference. So I believe there's a lot of numbers, a lot of instances we need to discuss, but we need to get it to the table first to make sure we're aware of it. And then so this is why we mentioned to AMR to come in and talk to the county first. I mean, you got to start somewhere and we'll work it down from there. We're open to any suggestions and any conversations. But this was a big eye-opening to us. You know, when you're in negotiations, we signed papers on the 19th to take over the hospital starting January the 1st. So this was something totally out of our ordinary. When I said we got $2.2 million or $2.4 million in tax revenue coming in every year, we got $1.8 million in bonds. I mean, we only have about $700,000, $800,000 left over. That goes to that $9 million I talked about indigent care. We've got to take care of our people, just like what they have to do now. So I mean, it just opens up the conversation. I mean, we're open to answering questions.
Jesse, if I'm
Sure.
Yes.
Your Honor, Commissioners, 2020, our hospital was paying roughly $400,000 in contract agency prices. And 2 years later, we're finding ourselves at $3.2 million, which is astronomical, but that's for the entire hospital. No, that's agency nurses for med-cert, ICU, ER, labor delivery, respiratory techs, sometimes lab techs. So we've been faced with the same crisis of when we've been understaffed. I will tell you just for the record that we have not increased compensation to the staff that stayed on. And I'd love if we could, but our budget did not provide for that kind of allowance. I will tell you that our relationship with AMR has been a good relationship, and we haven't had any qualms with the service provided. We do rent them a barn for $200 a month, so a nominal fee. So the partnership, the service is well needed, whether it be something that we create ourselves or if we continue with AMR. I am alarmed with the amount of increase. I have to be honest with that. As a businessman, I'd be amiss without saying that. Thank you.
So when this was granted, was it bid out originally to multiple providers? Or was it only?
No, I mean, because in this market, Commissioner, you've got AMR and some Acadia. Acadia is more to the southeast of the state. And AMR came forward and they were willing to take all of our staff. None of the benefits were going to decrease. No wages decreased, no tenure decreased. And I became a used ambulance car salesman, and they purchased all of the equipment we had as well. So it was a very easy transition. And I think with the exception of maybe 2 FTEs, all employees were able to remain with the organization. So it's pretty seamless. There's just not a huge market for rural.
Right.
I don't know if this is the presentation to ask, but what does the nonprofit mean going forward for
Well,
operations?
our organization is a different subject, but our organization has been a private the hospital has been owned by an operator, by critical access health.
Eddie Watson's fixing some.
There you go.
Oh,
That's what I'm trying to get in.
I happened to stop, but.
That's okay. It was owned by Critical Access Healthcare, which was a private industry. So Charlie's company, if there's profit, Charlie gets the profit. And we realized that his model was dependent upon the district program, a federal program. I know you're familiar with it for those that are not in healthcare. It's a disproportionate share funding program, which if you have a large uninsured, which we do, and a large Medicaid, which we do, then they come in because Medicaid does not pay cost. And they supplement through population health projects. If you're addressing those disparities, they supplement by giving you funds. And those funds are about 4.2, let me ask that, Chris. 4.2 million, and some change, and Audrey jump in if I'm quoting anything incorrect. So when that program ended September 30th of last year, we're short 4.2 million. So one of the things that our boards collectively sat down with Mr. Slayton and Critical Access is, what do we do? And the solution for us was, well, let's reform ourselves as a not-for-profit. And that helps us in the following manners. No, we're not subject to sales tax. We're not subject to property tax. I can now start a 340B drug repricing program so I can get some discounts and rebates back from that federal program. And that's about $250,000, $500,000. And now we can utilize our grant writer to go after some HRSA grants, some big federal grants to subsidize equipment replacement, infrastructure, recruitment, retention, mental health outreach has been a big one. We're trying to pull together those resources and replacing our electronic health record because it's an orphan product. But that still leaves us in a little deficit of a situation too. So, we like Will was saying, every year when the consumer price index changes, we have to increase our prices to be in line with that. And that's about a 3 to 5% increase usually. This year's probably going to be larger. And you're going to see a lot of hospitals doing the same thing because, just like they said, all that grant funding is gone. And when you set your budget in expectation of grant funding, and then all of a sudden the grant funding's gone, then you're back to the real world. You've got to set your budget in line with what your normal operations are. With COVID, it's been, are we going to see another wave? Is it going to be a little wave? Is it going to be a big wave? There's no way to know how to budget for that. So we budgeted on assumptions and on waves. And now we're kind of back to the situation where it's done. And now we can go back to normal operational history. And the other aspect of our situation at the hospital is we haven't had an orthopedic surgeon. He had a health crisis. And we worked with him, trying to get him to a place where he was able to start operating again, and he wasn't. So he is now gone. He's retired, and we're trying to replace the orthopedic surgeon. I'm being just transparent, and we're still actively recruiting for a family medicine provider. So the deficit, we hope, once we get those two positions identified, they'll generate the revenue that'll make up the deficit. But we're going to get real creative with fundraising and grants too. Good question. Thank you.
And there's an advantage too. If you get a home medical provider, there's advantages there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And any expenses, the good thing for critical access is any expenses we do have, we can claim on our Medicare cost report. And as long as that relationship between back to Dr. Prock, the relationship between revenues and expenses is balanced in your favor, then you get a receivable back from Medicare. But if it's out of whack, and again, my CFO can speak to it more so, then you have to pay it back. So we're trying to be very careful about not having a payback. So no offense to any other company's strategy to try to retain staff. We've had staff too that have come to us and say, hey, I need $10 more an hour. Well, I'd like $10 more an hour too, but we don't have it. And unfortunately, we can't go there. I mean, AMR it's a far larger entity. So there's a lot more bureaucracy beyond Will and Justin's capabilities. In a nutshell, we need an ambulance service for our community. Thank you.
good.
So I know that the judge, I think, has provided y'all with some information.
Yes.
Real quick, I'm gonna
I'm gonna take us even a little farther back. So the first ambulance in this county was provided by the Border Fire Department. And so, you know, if you've seen pictures, you've probably seen the station wagons that people thought used to be an ambulance. And so the city fire department operated the ambulance service for many years up until about the late 80s, early 90s. When some billing issues, we actually had staff at City Hall that was doing all of our own billing. And so at that point, the county and the city contracted with Rural Metro to take over ambulance service. And so in that period, the county and the city of Border did subsidize Rural Metro for their service. Rural Metro was providing ambulance service for Pampa, Gray County, and the city of Border, Hutchinson County. In that time period, the hospital closed, the hospital district was created, and once the hospital district was created, the hospital district took over the subsidy payment to Rural Metro. Pampa and Gray County moved away from Rural Metro and contracted with the trauma. There was a nonprofit that was formed in Pampa, and that doctor came around and talked to a lot of us back then, if you're on that, but nobody else ended up going with them, but they canceled the Rural Metro's contract. At that point, Rural Metro's subsidy to keep them in Hutchinson County only, because they were losing some of the benefit of having extra trucks and extra personnel in Pampa, had almost more than doubled, which is when the hospital district decided it would be easier to operate their own ambulance instead of paying the doubled subsidy to Rural Metro, which is how the hospital district got. So it's not uncommon. Most cities and most counties in rural areas either subsidize or operate an ambulance service at a loss. The city's been kind of preparing some contingency plans in case something like this came up. You know, I'm not surprised necessarily by the need for that. Gray County and Pampa both subsidize their ambulance service in Pampa and Gray County. Everywhere else that either subsidizes AMR or provides their own. So when we go forward and you know, mainly what I'm here to say is that, you know, like I mentioned, you know, I think we need to probably get a work session together to determine what the best solution is. In the meantime, I'm going to give you some. I made it big so y'all can see it.
Thank you.
Because I don't know if,
What are you saying?
All I'm saying is that I'm trying to be responsive and meet the needs of my audience.
Okay.
And this is kind of a working draft of just some numbers and some potential options, just so that Dwight can have some more information to add more questions to his list. I don't think, if you look at that from what AMR is currently paying staff, their EMTs make a little less than our firefighters, which would make a little sense because a firefighter is dual certified EMT basic and firefighter. Their paramedics are making about the same as our fire lieutenant, which with the level of certification required for a paramedic, I think that's within reason. So this first sheet, what the city's looking at is because from the city's perspective or the city of Border's perspective, our decision is, do we want to continue to outsource it and let them deal with the headache, or is the cost benefit and control aspect better for us to operate it? And so what you're looking at here is just some of the numbers we're putting together to see what might work best for us. So that first sheet is our operational analysis, which is revenue and expenditures based on different models. So we've called around on the low end, EMS services are getting 25% reimbursement based on what's billed. So that's kind of your low end revenue model based on a conservative 1,850 transports. Then on the high end, we're looking at a 40% reimbursement. Plainview, who operates their own EMS service to the fire department, is getting about 35 to 40% reimbursement depending on the month. And I know that we're a little different. And then we've got the AMR's model that they've been forthcoming with on us, which is based on what he just told you too. So you can see that everything is in line there. The one thing where Border might have some benefit if we operate this is keep in mind, I've got a 26-man fire department where every single one of them is already certified as an EMT basic. So we've got some staffing flexibility that AMR or some other third-party provider isn't going to have, because that like he talked about, that half truck, a lot of times it's not necessarily needed. So I don't have to have a full-time EMT just to serve that ambulance.
if the second call comes in, we can take an EMT from the fire truck to drive the ambulance. It would require 2 paramedics. So to get 2 trucks, we're looking at 10 staff where they're using 14 staff. And I'm not saying, at this point, I'm not advocating which way is better. I am just clearly talking money right now. And so when you look at that, I've got 3 different staffing models on the bottom of that first page, which is 2 truck staffing, which for us is equivalent to like 1.5 staffing, because I get that EMT from the fire department. Then to staff 2.5 trucks, you add a significant number of paramedics to cover that extra. And then you get the 3 truck staffing, and then you start looking at the revenue over expenditures. I will say that based on our revenue calculations, on those, that's full city benefits. So I think their revenue number or their expenditure numbers are somewhat close to that. And you kind of see the deficits that are created by each revenue model. The second page is just kind of what these would look like in a just to kind of look at what the bottom line would be to each entity that's involved in this right now. Is I've kind of just right now used a little bit of our dispatch distribution, kind of what we use as a good basis for how many people are covered by dispatch. So that'd be about a 60% city of Borger cost, 30% county cost, and 10% fridge cost. And then based on the different truck models, and then the AMR subsidy is back on the far right. So this kind of gives you an idea based on the different revenue models, what the cost could be depending on how we choose to operate it and staff it. And then the last 3 pages are just some basic, these are our fancy spreadsheets, calculate salary cost and so again, you might see, what level we went to kind of get to those comments. But this is something I think talk about, but I want to get this kind of information in front of you so that we've got all the information. And just to kind of let you know, I don't, like I said, county and city subsidies are not uncommon. We just have to decide what we think is probably the best for that. And I'll give this just, if you want it, PDI. So in last legislative session, PDI was passed with the studying revenue for ambulance services. And they've got this nice little report on kind of how that is. If you want to know where we justified revenue numbers from, I can give it to you, or I can take it back with me. I don't want to give it to you if you're just going to throw it away. But if you trust my revenue model, if you don't trust my revenue models, here's kind of the backing for some of that.
Well, you said it's not uncommon for subsidies. As far as counties that have a hospital system, how common is it for the subsidy to have to come from elsewhere? Because you mentioned Gray County, they use Hemp Hill Hospital District MS. So how common is that the subsidy being picked up by local and county governments and not the hospital district?
More often than not, is picked up by not the hospital district.
Yeah.
But it kind of depends. Hospital districts are each formed by their own legislative act.
Right.
So not 2 of them are the same.
Right.
And so that's what's a little bit common, I know that our tax rate's limited to 10 cents unless the voters vote more. Hansford County Hospital District and Hemphill County's tax rate's higher than that. I know that Hemphill County is expanding their ambulance service to try to make the cost of their operations. But
Going back, what you just said here about the tax rate, we're 120 out of 142 hospital districts, the lowest rate.
and I know that Gray County's been city of Pampa, that I think they're, they find Hemphill County acceptable, but they've run into some issues with that.
You run into your staff response times too. Delays everything, surgery time, delivery time.
Well, I know that Brent Sheets is here on the behalf of the city of Fritch. But when I was part of City of Fritch, we negotiated contracts with AMR for the entire time we were there, and they've been very easy to work with. We've always paid a supplement to have AMR, and we provide a place for the ambulance as well as the employees to relax and stay in there in that facility. And so I definitely wouldn't, I'm very open for discussion because there's so many things we need to talk about, but I have to say, Garrett, well, ever since, I've just been impressed by you on everything. So, thank you for doing this.
I appreciate that. You know, the city does pay me for my.
Well, I appreciate
time, so-
the city of Borger.
And like I said, I'm not advocating one way or the other, you know, yet. The council will meet a work session on the third to discuss this. And so I haven't officially talked with them, but this is just, I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
And you know, this is, and I will just say, this is sheer number. This is sheer numbers and money. This operational quality of service, you know, staffing ability, economies of scale or anything like that. So this is just mainly to get you thinking,
Money.
and like I said, help you refine your list or add more to your list.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you, Garrett.
To answer your question, it's probably 50-50 to Garrett's point. I have both in my service areas. Stevens County, Breckenridge, Texas is subsidized. The hospital pays the subsidy out of the hospital district. I run Jones County, the city of Anson, the city and the county pay the subsidy there. So it just really depends on who wants to shoulder the responsibility.
It's like a coin flip, basically.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I think the other thing that might impact that too is especially in counties our size, it's uncommon or less common to have a fully paid professional fire department in the county, which opens up some other possibilities. You know, keep in mind in the Texas Panhandle, other than Amarillo, Randall County, Borger, and Pampa, those are the only fully paid professional fire departments. So even Hereford, Dalhart, Perryton, Dumas, they're all a combination and at least half volunteer. So that is one of the biggest factors that impact who pays and who operates.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate y'all for the information. Hopefully get a work session figured out, and maybe after the city has their work session, then we can all try to sit down and visit. You guys have any other questions? We appreciate y'all being here and giving us that information.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda, we're going to go into executive session in regards to personnel matters. So we're just going to ask everybody to have a seat out in the hallway.
No, 10:15.
did. But good. Okay, item 9 on the agenda is to consider and or approve action from the executive session.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept Lee Bergen as the new airport manager.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Lee Bergen.
I think we have to state the salary too in the motion.
We do? Okay,
What we do.
for $55,000 a year plus the house.
All right, so we have a motion to accept Lee Bergen as the airport manager at the salary of 55, and he lives in the house,
Does that start January 1?
January 1. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Lee, congratulations. All right, and you can just get with Amy. Here's Amy right here in the front row. Yeah.
He's got a lot to learn.
All right, item 10 is to consider and or approve bonds for Roman Alejandro in the amount of 2,000, Jeremy Sharp in the amount of 1,000, Amanda Wysong in the amount of 5,000, Angelica Hartraft in the amount of 2,000. I'd lump all that together in one big agenda item.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the bonds for Roman, Jeremy, Amanda, and Angela.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, now that we've accepted her bond, we might need to consider and or approve appointing Amanda Wysong as Justice of the Peace Precinct 2. So do y'all remember, she was appointed to fulfill the unexpired term. Judge Rodriguez's name was still on the ballot. So we have to reappoint her now for the next 4 years, or I guess until the next general election. Yeah, general election, at which time she can file if she so chooses and run for the position.
So make a motion, we approve appointment of Amanda Wysong, JP Precinct 2, effective January 1, 2023.
No, second.
Your term.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, and then I evidently had too many things cluttering up my brain and also put Roman and Angelica appointments on there, but we don't technically need to appoint them because they were on the ballot.
Right.
So they will be sworn in and take office January 1. So
There's no action.
no action on 12 and 13. Yeah. All right, item 14 is to consider and or approve any ARP grant projects. So we have a couple of projects. I'm super excited to present my project, which is to refurbish and reupholster the benches out here. So we've got the new carpet, it looks amazing. Would like to redo the benches also so they can kind of match and get rid of the green. I have been in contact with the prison system it's the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Texas Correctional Industries, and they have agreed to do the project. Logistically, we're going to have to figure out some stuff. They gave me a quote of $4,833 plus $1,200 to transport them. And they'll come and pick up and delivery fee are figured in the price, installation and the separate price, which may be an additional $1,200. So I figured that in the price for a total of $6,200 for the project. May not be quite that much, but they're going to come pick the benches up and take them. I just got to figure out if we have enough folding chairs to have court while the benches are gone.
Make a motion to approve redoing the benches in the court for $6,200.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Of course, I'm okay. My project. All right, and then the other ARP project that we have submitted is from Commissioner Bentley in regards to the courthouse and jail. You want to go over that?
And this is what we talked about in court last time, which way we was going, and
I put on that total cost courthouse, 123,500, the jail, 136,500. Total insurance proceeds was 200,808. I made a total out of pocket to the county of 59,191.80, and 5,000 of that was budgeted in the budget. So the ARP application is 54,191.80.
So I know I think we talked about this. It's not 5,000 for the jail and 5,000 for the courthouse, just one. Okay.
Supposed to be 5,000 for
For a total. Okay.
Yeah, that's, and then, just for the record, I did talk to the insurance guys about this last week, and the deductibles for the county is going up considerably here in the near future, so it's gonna be a big, this is a good time to get this done, so hopefully go out and get it.
So do they have any, if we approve this, do they have a projected start date or?
I asked him, he's hoping to be, now, I think it'd be a little later, but he said the end of March or April to be done, but
Oh, to be done,
I expect that to be a little later.
right?
They have a lot of it going on, a lot, so. Well,
Any questions? For her motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the project for the roofs for $54,191.80 from ARP.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Thanks, Ben. All right, item 15 is to consider and or approve the burn ban or rescind the burn ban. So I did talk to Jerry this morning. He's on vacation. He did say our drought index was sitting right about a 500. And he anticipates that is going to just get worse over the next week because we're going to have some pretty dry, windy weather. So he recommends us putting the burn ban back into place.
I move to reinstate the burn ban.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to reinstate the burn ban. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Item 16 is to consider and or approve disposal of obsolete office equipment. I don't think I had anything this time. Ben, something? Page 17, accept certificates of completion from elected or appointed officials.
Gary Alexander submitted certificate for 9 hours of educational training at the County Judges and Commissioners Conference. Dwight Kirksey submitted certificates for cybersecurity awareness, criminal justice information services security awareness training, and also 13 hours educational training at the 100th County Judges and Commissioners Conference. Chris Prock submitted certificate for cybersecurity awareness training. Craig Jones, County Attorney, submitted several certificates for prosecuting DWI, prosecutor trial skills, ethics, elected prosecutor conference, the grievance process. That's all I have.
Okay, here, I'll give you this too, because we've all signed it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, item 18 is to consider and or approve requests for the use of the club rooms at the Borger Library or Fritz.
I had two from Delina, but I deleted those. I don't know where they're at.
Oh, okay.
I just looked on my way up here and I don't know where they're at.
Okay, so maybe they're using the club room.
Well, we have December covered, so it'll
Right.
probably be in our January.
Okay,
I'll-
that's good.
Information, and she's always watching, so she'll retext them to me,
All
I'm
right.
pretty sure.
All right, item 19, consider and or approve line item changes, transfers and or budget amendments. And I did not print those out.
I just had the one for this current year, to amend the budget for the sheriff JAG grant that was received for the investigator. And then also to amend the ARP fund for the additional $50,000 we received.
Oh, we did get that.
We did get
Okay.
50,000 for the local assistance and tribal consistency funds. And then some various the line item transfers were to move the money for the approved ARP project.
Do we need to sign that? Do I hear a motion to accept these? Motion second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Right here, if you'll all sign that. All right, item 20, consider and or approve advertising, opening, accepting or awarding bids.
We just still have the request for qualifications going for the engineer. That deadline the 16th of January. We sent them out to 110 engineering firms. I haven't received any yet, but with the holiday.
Right.
I figure it's probably gonna be after the first year.
Okay.
I did talk with Dwight, I'm going out here. We decided not to run it in the paper because it doesn't have to be. And since we sent packages to all of the engineering firms, it just kind of seemed like a waste of money.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's fine.
To all of the firms in Amarillo.
In the surrounding areas. Okay, good. And it's posted on the website too. Okay. All right, item 21, consider and or approve donations to Hutchinson County. Yes, ma'am.
We got the LOB that same little lady that's on this. This one, she included a very kind thank you. So she also included $100 from her personal checking account.
Oh,
So we're very fortunate to, people that,
so what was the total amount that she sent?
well, this year she had already sent a 3,000.
The 3,000?
Yes,
And so she sent another 100?
yes,
Okay, all right,
So thank you, Ms. Sherry.
yes.
yes,
Do you send her anything back?
yes, I always send
Yeah.
thank you notes.
Oh, yes.
And then I did go ahead and elaborate exactly what we are doing with the funds.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
that's why I think I got this other
Right,
information back.
right.
Great
So,
job.
Now, will the treasurer's office or the auditor's office, probably the treasurer, send a donation certificate for taxes to people who donate?
I am not sure about.
Okay.
I think before what we've just done is, send a thank you with the dollar amount listed.
Oh, okay.
And then it's on
They
our
can use that.
letterhead.
They can use that for ours.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if we need something additional.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept that donation?
Oh, yeah.
Chris?
I'll second it.
Gary? Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Thanks,
Is
Nancy.
that too quick?
Sure.
Item 22, accept reports from elected or appointed officials.
I have none,
None.
none.
Okay. Wonderful. All right, item 23, discussion of county judges and commissioners precinct daily operations. Y'all got anything else?
The elevator's operational and it passed inspection. All's well with it, seems like, so.
Yay.
Just not. Yeah, I'm very happy with the upgrade and the work Advanced Elevator did. They did a great job.
It's very bright in there.
The LED lights.
Yeah.
It's,
Looks good.
we only had one little glitch with the sensor, but that was minimal. But it's good. Also, last week, the courthouse generator wouldn't start again, so,
That's a huge problem.
well, it's an ongoing problem, but, we guess it's a V10 Ford engine and a 10-year-old generator, so it's gonna give problems. We're getting somebody to look at it again that can hook up to a Ford engine, so we'll see what we come up with.
Okay.
It's one of them things that probably got what we paid for.
Well, so Ben, and I don't know, you probably know this, I don't know, but just ballpark, what would it cost us to get a new one?
What I would like to
Because we
see.
need
what I would like to
something
see out of the
reliable.
Caterpillar generator. That's what
We
I,
need something reliable, because if we had that big, nice generator out there, well, not evidently all that nice, and never works, fails us every time.
see, the problem now is nothing to do with the problem a few months ago. We keep having different things
Oh,
and sensors and We've had all sorts of stuff. And we keep thinking, okay, we got it. Then every time it gets down cold,
Right.
well, it's something
And we
new.
don't have it.
But
Which-
you could be anywhere.
Which that affects the other things that we have to spend money on then.
Yeah, and
So this Caterpillar wouldn't have those problems, you don't think, or?
well, it wouldn't have problems like this.
Yeah,
It's not the most dependable you get, but I have a price one, but you're looking probably 75,000. So it may be more than that. It's gonna be very expensive, but we just don't have much out here. We'll try to keep it running. We'll do our best. When it gets down to zero again. Eddie and I was out there at 4:30 the other morning and we still didn't get it running. So,
Yeah.
but
Lisa.
went out there this morning, it's about 40 degrees and it kicked off.
Right,
Oh,
today.
When you don't need
We
it.
don't need it.
Today. But it's
It's frustrating.
a V10 Ford is not going to help itself. It is what it is.
Anything else?
So I,
Uh,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go first.
At the airport, just got a call this morning. Dennis said, plumbers had to come out. Speaking of the house, had a line blown into, that's a pier and beam house, so they can get underneath it and fix it. Then they had some other sink issues they had to fix. But before that, the Phillips always comes out and tests their fire truck hoses and stuff out there with that hydrant, which is fine. We've been doing that for years. Well, somehow, I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, pressured up the lines or something. So when it happened,
Mhm.
so somehow, I don't understand it, but anyway, got it all fixed. Everything's going good.
Good. Right,
So with doing the manual and doing other stuff, and I told Ben I would help with the safety manual as well. I kind of want to, I've kind of started, we talked a little bit about it briefly earlier. I want to help the departments that answer directly to the court understand what the court would like and what the court needs, as well as go over their job description, the hierarchy, all the stuff we have already in place, now implement it. And I want to make January that push to kind of make that happen with the 6 department heads that answer directly to the court. And so I didn't know if you wanted me to put together a packet to show y'all what I talk about, but it's all from the manual. I've been doing this for the last 2 years. I would just personally have a one-on-one with the department heads. That's okay.
Amy, don't you guys do a lot of that, or is this gonna be repetitive stuff, or?
Well, we do, like, if there's a new fire, we work on our packet. So when there's somebody that comes in, then we do that, we explain to them and have them do the job descriptions. Most of the time, it's the supervisor that goes over the job description, they decide it and then send it back to us, so. I mean,
So is that what you're talking about? You're
Yeah, I
going
want-
over the job
I
description?
want to go over the job description, the grievance policies, the hierarchy of who and how they communicate if they have issues, concerns. Also let them, what I've learned in this last 6 months is that they don't know, okay, do I talk to Gary when I'm having personnel problems? And the answer is no. Do I talk to Chris when I'm having personal stuff? If I'm going on vacation, do I just let who you know? The answer is no. We're the collective. We're the bosses in the collective. And it's not that anyone's doing anything wrong. They just don't know.
Okay,
And so I want to communicate to the 6 department heads of, okay, kind of how we
the
operate.
expectation.
Yeah, well, not so, and even the word expectations sounds a little daunting. It's more of, hey, this is how the system works.
Okay,
And just kind of, because it's, again, that no one's doing anything wrong, just no one knows. They don't know that we as commissioners only oversee the facilities, not the personnel. And so, but even at that, they're not even telling us about facilities sometimes. They're kind of, so internal policies and stuff that they write, those 6 departments, even their internal policies still have to come through us. And so those kind of things, and it's, again, nobody's doing anything wrong. They just don't know that this is how the hierarchy works. And I would like to help everybody just kind of get on the same page and make January the push for that. So that, and I would like to just call them all together all at once in a room and handle it all together instead of going each individually. Just have a department head meeting per se and go over that stuff.
I think this is a much bigger problem than what people realize. There's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
And it needs to be fixed. It really does.
But I've been working on an idea. And again, when you talk about change, people get a little nervous and scared, and it's really not change. It's just implementing what it should have been doing anyway. And it's really, again, nobody's doing anything wrong. There's not any bad stuff happening. It's just helps communication because our communication lines are a little broke.
Okay.
And I want to help with that. And I already have a plan. So that's what I've been working on. The end.
Hey, anybody have anything else?
So at the museum, they poured the concrete for the base of the fire escape stairwells. And they've been working on the metal last week, and they're gonna do that this week. I don't know if they're gonna get to install it this week, but try to knock it out the next 2 weeks or so. And the guy, the fire escapes are still stored at that lot where the city contractors are storing their equipment, but he gave me the code so they're going back and forth, walking and they're communicating well. So there's not an issue
Okay,
on
good.
that between the two.
Anybody have anything else?
This is in your department, but the Railroad Commission is plugging a bunch of wells out on some land I've got. And there's an old antique pump jack out there. I've had my eye on it for years. Well, I communicated with the Railroad Commission, the top dog in the area, and I think we're going to get that for the museum.
Oh, cool.
It'd be great. Yeah. That's something that the museum needs in their display on the north side of the building. So, yeah. Won't cost a thing except for the county boys to pick it up, bring it in, set it.
I could probably lift it myself and carry it, but.
Well, I told them you're available.
Oh.
Uh-oh. All right, item 24. Consider and approve sale of struck off tax property. We have a couple. Well, actually, just. So Chris, is that one yours? No. It's not. Property described is 4 through 5 and 8 through 9 block of Stinnett on Gorman Avenue. Offer is 2,800, has been made by James Petty of Stinnett. Taxes haven't been paid since 87. They were struck off anywhere from 95 to 2012 and appraised anywhere from 900 to 1,260.
That is pretty much vacant lots. It's on East Broadway, adjoins East Broadway by Gorman Street. But there's really not much there. They're just vacant and they're not even all 4 together. They're separated. I would make a motion to approve the 2,800 for the 4 lots.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, and the other one is the tax deed. Okay, this is, from the Texas Communities Group. So I think I sent this to y'all so you could look at it. The purchaser was the Bolt Store LLC. And the agreement was that they would demo the structure per the guidelines of the agreement and then purchase the property for $10. And they have demoed the property.
That's part of that auction group.
Right. It's the Texas Communities Group. So money's in hand or just waiting for everyone.
That is an empty lot. I emailed it to Jerry. Lost my voice.
My prayers do get answered.
Well, it probably cost them,
No, because you talked for 10.
Chris, it probably cost them lots of demo the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a mobile home trailer park on there, their trailer that they had to demo. And I was like, weird. That's not like I'm 95
So are
years
you,
old.
did you make a motion?
Make a motion, we accept that. Bob.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Okay. And let Siobhan notarize that and then give that to you because I already signed it. Okay, I think that is everything. Does anyone have anything else? Does Gary have anything?
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn. We have a second at 11:14. All in favor, say aye. All right, y'all don't leave. Because y'all know today is Jan's last
Yes.
commissioners court meeting.
Good one.
We did. We managed to get out before noon, but I also have some sweet little cookies.
Oh,
So
I love a cookie.
because we can't have enough parties.
That's true. And we.
So y'all stay and have a cookie with us.
Judge, will you stay seated? I know it's gonna be kind of
Oh,
scripted, but I'll take a picture of all of us at our tables.
We should do it like normal, like 9:30 and be here.
Me not here.
Yeah, walk in like. Do we act like we're working or what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to do.
Y'all also supposed to be,
It's your picture. What are we doing?
I was like, you're all supposed to be looking at like. Okay.
will you send me one of those?
Yes.
Okay,
You know where we.
all right, hold on, let me.
Sorry. Sorry, you need to yell next time.